With Mr. Ken Lavander again for another HPF special edition episode. This one is titled Taking Control of Your Own Health. And we can't stress this enough. But first and foremost, Ken, thank you for joining us, sir. Great to have you.
Great to be here, Al.
Yep. I'm ready for a very powerful episode in which Ken, our main man, is going to be diving into the ins and outs of really building. Every single session we do, we're building, but the ins and outs of not only chronic disease and inflammation and stress and all the moving parts that are perceivably external to our eyes and world, whether it's other people, and then it becomes internal to something that we experience or you experience because your life's turned to shit and your health's falling apart. It's actually about you going and pulling back to the bare essentials of knowing A, where that comes from, but B, who's responsible for that, especially in such sensitive times that we're in right now, Ken. I mean, I think I've openly expressed my disappointment in a lot of the mainstream media. This isn't about me just talking opinions and who Al is. RDM is much bigger than me individually. But again, I observe energy, and the energy being pushed at this stage is one where a lot of times it's almost influencing people to relinquish control of taking action in their own life. And that's a disappointing thing, Ken, because it's not about, yes, work as a pack, as a herd, as a tribe. Let's all look after each other and support each other. But ultimately, fuck, man, the buck stops with you. And it always does, always will. You listening to this or watching this, this is your reality. This is your world. Ken and I play a role in your world at this stage. And the big thing is you need to understand what role that plays for you, what perceptions you want to adopt, and how you can help influence yourself off the back of what we can influence you with in taking charge again with our message, which is actually growth and leadership and change for the betterment of the second half for yourself and your children and your family. Taking control of your own health. Ken, thanks again for joining us, mate. Let's get stuck into it. Talk to us, mate. Let's start off with, what's going to be an amazing episode on some key fundamentals to help guys understand where they should absolutely start with this.
Yeah, mate, it's exciting. It's kind of, for me, it's exciting times. And for people like you and I both, Al, it should be exciting times. And it is exciting times, especially over the next 1, 3, 5, 10 years, because exactly what you're saying there, are people really taking control of their own health and the people around them? Or is it that they're not really caring about what's going on tomorrow, and only dealing with the situation today? Like, I've always been about preventative measures to look after your own health. I'm always about being proactive rather than reactive. And at the end of the day, are you or are we actually getting healthier? Is Australia or is the global becoming healthier, or are we becoming worse? And the problem is now, the things that is kind of out of our control is the influence of media and many other kind of things that are completely, we can't change. It's a bit like the government, I suppose. 1 or 2 votes might be able to change who we vote for and whatever else. But really, at the end of the day, money pushes everything. And we've got to realize that, because power comes from people with a lot of money, and they can create their own agenda. And so that's why when we look at health statistics and things like that from the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare, you can pull these statistics up on the internet right now. Like, it's not hidden. I'm not pulling any numbers out of my ass or whatever I believe to be right and wrong. The numbers are sitting there in your face. And this is why we all should start to take a realistic look at what we're doing for ourselves and the people that we love around us. And the question is, to me, or to everyone out there, are you getting healthier, or are we becoming worse in our own health? And that's why we've got to really start to think about a lot of things within our own environment, what we have control of and what we don't have control of. And that's seriously important. And I practice what I preach, and that's a big thing for me. And I'm sure a lot of people that I come in contact with on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, I'm always trying to influence them to think about themselves and the people around them, and ask questions and see whether their day today is better than their day yesterday. Are they getting wins on the board with their own health? Are they trying to improve their quality of sleep? Are they trying to move a little bit more? Are they trying to eat a little bit better so that their quality of life is becoming better for them? So there's a lot of kind of information that I want to try and get across today. And the most important thing what you've got to remember is don't try and blame someone else. Don't play the blame game when exactly what you're saying, Al, and I believe is that you have really got to take control. And we'll share some of these statistics and whatever else in our current situation with what's going on. And again, it's so important to realize, have a look what's going in your own four walls of your own house and what you're doing and what's going on in your own backyard, and stop worrying about what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, you know, like how dare you look at someone else's house and say that there's dirt on the floor or on the windowsill when your own house is fucking dirty. Yeah, that's what I can't get, Ken, in a lot of different ways. It's not just what's happening now. Now is bringing a relevance of this to the surface more than ever in what is the biggest disease of all time, which is hypocrisy. But yeah, mate, absolutely. You know, looking at investing in yourself, it's a large reason why I've started to actually look at farming. And I took a step back, Ken, and, you know, we all experience fear, and I've experienced being scared many times. I don't live there. It doesn't manifest inside of me. It doesn't become an opinion I push onto others. No one wins when it comes to fear. It's actually acting out of fear is one of the most selfish things you can do, because it takes you completely away from growth, and then it inhibits or influences other people, mainly your children, that don't have a solid environment inside of what they create themselves, because they're still children. But ultimately, I started to look at self-sustainability. I'm like, shit, what? Like, I'm incredibly strong, intelligent, and aware of a lot of things, but I'm like, shit, man, I can't go out and hunt my own food. I don't have self-generating power. You know, I don't have fruit and veggies. I've got some in my backyard that I grow, but I don't have enough to sustainably cycle through the seasons and support and look after my family. And this isn't about a Mad Max type world scenario. It's actually a fulfillment of being someone who can actually look after himself and his family. Like, it's an amazing thing, and credit to a lot of farmers. We've got a lot of country and rural dads who are part of RDM, but it's a very fucking fulfilling and rewarding thing, mate, to be able to see life grow off the back of the seeds you plant, how you nurture it, how you look after it, as well as, you know, food for your family, water, power, all the moving parts that actually gives you a level of self-control and power that, I tell you what, mate, I'm not saying everyone should go out and move into the farm, but it's one of the main reasons why I want the RDM ranch, for sure, to bring people back to alignment of the most simple and beautiful things of life and creation that then connects to living a holistic and healthy and fulfilling life, because you've got that control back at the highest level, at every level. But unfortunately, mate, we're seeing the reverse happen, Ken, where people are getting sicker. Like you said, the world's getting worse with obesity and lots of different inflammatory markers, not just viruses. It's people actually killing themselves through their well-being and health, mentally and physically. And I don't know, mate, it seems like it's pretty scary to just keep walking the line of going through the mainstream system of general practitioners and doctors and whatnot, instead of actually looking inside of yourself and reorganizing your life physically, chemically, and emotionally.
Yeah, it's really interesting when I look at the statistics, and you've really got to take everything to perspective. And that's why when we look at preventative risk factors in all of Australians and globally, but let's just kind of focus just here in Australia, it's on the rise. And what you'll find, 95%, and it's their information in front of you, 95% of Australians have 1 to 3 underlying risk factors that are systemic and create all sorts of problems through lifestyle choices of their own, through lack of movement, through poor nutrition, and poor nutrition being the absolute pinnacle, being the top of their, and then that stems into their mental well-being, or like their mental wellness. And so that's why it's not just about the physical side of things. It's trying to communicate mind and body. It's trying to link those things together, because everything has an overlap. And we truly won't know what the statistics are like from this pandemic, because of the many years through the mental health issues and everything else, which will be a cascade of problems. But really, what we can do right now is take control and start to implement things into our day-to-day lives. Like right now, like 34% of Australians have high blood pressure. And from there, like 63 to 69% of people are overweight. We're not talking about morbidly obese, but overweight. And so what that does is create systemic problems within every section of your well-being, being physical, chemical, and emotional. 29% of Australians right now are in the obesity range. That's including children. So we've got 20, 25, nearly 26 million people, and I've looked at the statistics right now. But remember, if someone is obese, what happens is it's not just because they have to, buy a larger pair of pants or a larger shirt or whatever else. It's not that. That's not the problem, because you have to increase your clothing size in your wardrobe. Where the problem is all the chronic illnesses that stem from that. And the problem is, because we can't see what's going on the inside unless we're getting blood work and we're looking at the pathology side of things, we look at the mirror and we go, hey, shit, the hair's messy, so we'll fix it. But the problem is, it's underlying, it's internal. We can't see what's going on. And then a day, a week, a month, a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the track, then that's where the problem lies. This is where the cancer issues become. This is where the terminal illnesses come. They don't just happen in one day. You don't get cancer today and you're dead tomorrow. This is a long-term effect. That's what it is. And that's why right now it is so important. You think about nearly 26 million people in Australia, and 29% of the population has or are obese. And out of that, 95% of 25, nearly 26 million people will have a systemic problem underlying. Now, guess what? 5 of the top causes of these things here are all preventable. Like we can prevent these things. It's sitting there. You can bring it up right now on the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare. It is in your face right now. 95% of these underlying problems out of 25, nearly 26 million people is preventable. Like, it's just madness. And so this is why right now it is more important than ever than to start to implement these simple things. Like, it's like, you think about this. This is how hypocritical some people are. They're worried about COVID, yet they still smoke cigarettes. They still take party drugs. They still drink like it's no tomorrow. And yet they're still not willing to do anything about that. Yet they're happy to stand in front of me and have an argument with me because I don't want to get a vaccination just yet, because I still don't know what the long-term underlying effects are. So it's okay for me to for them to tell me that they want me to be vaccinated. Yet here they are pulling their face mask aside to have a cigarette and whatever else. And they want to have a discussion about their health and my health. I just can't believe this. But all that aside, let's think about our children, for instance. 1 in 4 children in Australia are obese. So if they're obese now, thinking about, listen, whether they're 1, 5, 10, 15 years old, think about what's going to happen in 10 years' time. They are already laying the foundation. It is unbelievable. Like 1 in 4, 25% of the population in children in Australia right now are obese. So there's your lying problem right now. So now it's got to come from the parents. They've got to lead by example. It's got to come from the cook. It's got to come from better education. And the unfortunate thing is, where's the education coming from? Who's funding the education? Who is driving this? Yeah, when are the dates, or when was the last time that nutritional information was updated with an Australian education? Like, this is where I'll pull some information out shortly, and you guys make up your own mind. I'm not here to direct you in any way whatsoever. I just want to give you the information, and you take control. You do with whatever you want with the information that I provide with you. But you know what? You can get on and look at this information also. But I'm going to drive you in. I'm going to give you some information. Like, I'm always about aiming for the stars and shoot for the clouds with my own health. I'm absolutely perfect picture of someone practicing what they preach, but that's what it's all about. You've really got to think about what's going on in your own life, and you've really got to start to take control.
Yeah, practicing what you preach is a pretty rare thing these days, Ken. That's for sure, mate. And I guess even looking, and they're all readily available numbers, and Ken will share some more with you, but just taking a few notes here, looking at 95%, that means there's only 1 million healthy people in the country. That's fucking insane. And the fact that it's all reversible, or you can fix it or sort it with the top 5 leading factors is mind-boggling on why people don't. And 8 million people, if we're looking at 29%, about 8 million people are obese in this country. This is the hard part when we're looking at our children and their environment is, because they come into the world with a blank canvas, mate. So their environment is a construct of those who influence and control their environment, mainly their parents, and yes, school and other moving social circles, but mainly the parents, because that's what plants the seeds in the first 5 to 7 years that becomes their patterns. It's like looking at these children going, you poor fucking things, what hope do you ever have? And look, again, opinions aside on whether someone wants to inoculate themselves or not, that's cool. You go do that. But fuck, someone who's incredibly sick, unhealthy, but got poor fucking habits, a poor mindset and attitude going for this is just like someone who goes and gets fucking lap band surgery and then tells me how I can lose weight and be healthy. Like, you're fucking kidding, aren't you? I've got no issue with that. I've got close people in my life who've had that procedure done because I felt they needed to, and that's cool. Totally up to you. Don't judge you for it. But don't come fucking lecturing me on what needs to be right and wrong in terms of my own health and well-being as an organism living on this planet with a fucking billion different things that could offer me tomorrow, and then a billion different ways on how I can actually prevent that by taking control and ownership myself. It's fascinating, Ken, and we'll dive into those numbers that you want to share as well in a second to continually expand your perceptions on this, those watching or listening to this. It just fascinates me. Again, not judging, not blaming, but it just fascinates me how much people are willing to destroy themselves 1% every day when it's actually just as easy, if not easier, man, to improve yourself 1% every day. It's fucking easy. We're not here to do all the argy-bargy, hard-working shit. It's why we track our data with the Aura rings. We've got all different metrics. We track the right numbers. Like, we're going for the low-hanging fruit. We are constantly, Ken, looking for the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean shortcuts, but we are looking for the path of least resistance, because the path of most resistance isn't actually sitting on the couch, having a beer, kicking back, doing whatever, and going through a lower energy form to finish the day. That's harder. You know why, Ken? Because the light bulb moment comes and your life's fucked and you've fallen apart. That's way worse. That's much harder work. I consider training and exercise and that discomfort and blowing heavy and you know, fucking laying down after some session. That shit's easy, mate, compared to the alternative. That's heaps easier compared to the alternative. Hit us with some more numbers, mate. What are we looking at? Some other things just to help you guys open up your mind a bit more.
So the complications, like and just kind of giving you like really heads up on this, okay? From literally the last decade, just in children, just to give you an idea, yeah, it's gone from the obesity rate went from 5.2% to 7.5%, from 1995 to basically 2007-8. That's like in 95 to 2000, like those years passed by. But now you look at 2007 to 2008, there was 7.5% of the population in children which are obese. Now we're in 2021, now it's 25%. So the rate of incline, the rate of obesity is just climbing exponentially. And where's it coming from? Because the technology, the information that we've got access to all around the world through computers, through social network, everything else. So is the information bad, or where is it coming from? Who is actually delivering that information? Is it the universities, the schools? Who's giving that information? So you're telling me that we have now access to pretty much everyone and every bit of information. Remember, it used to be the Encyclopedia Britannica that everyone kind of sit in. And imagine how like shit you needed to be like, you know, say world's strongest man to carry the bloody encyclopedias around, and no kids were carrying those around in their backpacks when they were going to school. But now you've got a smartphone in your hand, you've got a computer, you've got a laptop, you can look up any information. But the problem is, where is the source of that information coming from? So now when we look at over 1, 2, 3 decades, now we had alarming obesity rates, 1 in 4 children, 29%, 29%. Now that is 7,479,000 people in Australia are obese. That in itself right now. Now, just that alone, and they're talking about 1,000 people have died from COVID. But guess what? People over the age of 84 since COVID started, yeah, that have multiple underlying conditions, yeah, not because of COVID's killed them, multiple underlying conditions. Now, hang on a minute. Why? Where are the multiple underlying conditions? Because I can't work out multiple underlying conditions when there's 7.5 million people are obese. So do you think there's a problem there in 1/3 or just a fraction under 1/3 of people are obese? So where is the education when it comes to the nutrition? Where is the education? Don't talk about just putting some, let's just go for a 10-minute walk and not look at nutrition. The big thing is here, as we go down a little bit further into the numbers, what are the other conditions when people are obese? Cardiovascular disease is the biggest form of death. Why? Because of people are obese. So they have all sorts of issues when it comes to increased adipose tissue, etc., etc. There's just systemic problems with autoimmune disease, everything else. Remember, nutrition science is only a couple of decades old, but yet the information, we should have better information in education. And then you look at high blood pressure, hypertension. You reckon high blood pressure is not going to be on the increase with people's mental wellness, with what the media is just throwing at you left, right, and center. Every time you turn a TV or radio on, whatever it is, they are just saying, people are dying, you've got to get COVID vaccinations, all of this bullshit that's going on. And yet, then you've got type 2 diabetes, which is almost the third largest kind of issue with people with obesity. Then you start talking about sleep apnea, which is a major thing also because people can't sleep. What's the biggest thing or second biggest thing that we track in High Performance Fathers is people's sleep rhythms and all the algorithms behind that so that we can improve that. How do we improve that? Through breath work. Doesn't cost them 1 cent. Don't have to go to a doctor to start getting prescribed medications because they have no idea on how to implement a healthier eating pattern, get them to move a little bit more and get them to start reducing stress that way. So then we talk about arthritis and we talk about all these other things, stroke and all these other things, which are preventable by moving, by eating a little bit of whole food, and that's working out things like that, getting some pathology tests, but then actually getting stuck into taking control of your own health. Like this is where it just becomes crazy and crazy. And tell me this, so all of a sudden you have a compromised immune system. You are not sleeping that well. You are stressed because of work. You are stressed because of you're worried about everything else is going around in other people's lives rather than what's going on. So you don't think cortisol levels are going up. You don't think you're immune suppressed. And then all of a sudden, everything's just getting hammered. The candle's getting burned at both ends. And all of a sudden, people go, shit, I've got some kind of problem. I don't know what it is. They go to the doctor, they go, well, you know what? You've got cancer. Well, how did this happen? I don't know how I got cancer. I like, what, you've got 6 months to live? What, you've got, 6 weeks to live? I don't understand why this has happened. I'll tell you why it's happened. Is because you have been burning the candle for not 1 day or 1 week or 1 year. You have been doing this, you're following this shit lifestyle for a decade or more. You have been getting plastered with all this bullshit and you have not at any stage, you might have done something for a day or a week or a month, but you have not taken control, and that's why it's so important now, more than ever, to now take control of your own health. And this is why, if we don't do it now, you cannot start playing the blame game. Do not come back and think to yourself, like, I promise you now, mate, cancer now is there is no one that I don't know that hasn't lost someone close to them because of cancer and because of poor health. I've lost 3 people in my family, step family, very close to me, through cancer, through all sorts of things. And you know what? I can promise you right now, it's not because they lived a healthy lifestyle. Absolutely no way in hell have they lived a healthy lifestyle. Yeah, they've lived a pretty poor quality of life, and I've had no control. I've tried to influence them, but you know what? I can only offer advice. I can lead a horse to water, but I cannot make him drink. I can only offer assistance, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, it's sad in a way, Ken. When you look at a lot of the the different ways that people position themselves, which all of a sudden the light bulb moment comes. I remember my pop, I think he got the saying wrong. He used to say that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it think. I was like, fuck, that's not a bad one as well. Because when you think about it, you're right, mate. Like, even if you try and influence people and move through them, a lot of the time walls get put up and they're not even open to exploring the possibility of change. And you can't, for those of you, even with yourself, with your relationships, you can't change other people. You can help influence, lead them, steer them, help them reposition themselves for different perspectives on things. But it is sad, mate, when I guess you see people just so easily wash their hands of themselves and taking control of themselves, which is a liberating thing, really. Trust me, it is. I fucking love my life because I look after myself as an organism. Like, you are an organism moving through life, regardless of where, and it's the great mystery that science will never solve, where you think consciousness comes from. You're expressing your consciousness and living through the human vessel, the human body. Don't take that shit for granted. I had 9 operations and reconstructions over a 6-year period, Ken, and that led to my life falling apart. Mentally, it was incredibly fucking challenging. No way would I want to do that now. Not with 3 kids moving through my 30s into my 40s. No way, man. Like, that crushed and took so much life out of me through my 20s. I'm not going to say I lost a decade of my life because I learned a lot from it, but there was much loss in that decade, so to speak. But these numbers are staggering, man. Like, looking at this now, I just wrote a couple of notes, like 95 to 2008. So there's 12, 13 years. I went from 5 to 7.5%. So that's a 50% increase, right? But then 2008 to 2021 or 2020, that's a fucking 300% increase, 7.5% to 25% more. Like, it's 3x. It's tripled. Like, what does that mean for the next 13 years? Like, is it going to move to fucking 70% of children? It's frustrating when we see this happening, when really the answers are fundamentally right in front of us and quite easy to move through in some of those top key things that kill people when they're really killing themselves. And look, when we're saying this, for a lot of you guys, yes, there's less than 1%. And this is Bruce Lipton's biology belief as well. He's an epigenetic scientist, fucking phenomenal man. Less than 1% of what people go through can be attributed to genetics. So don't come to us with an argument. And we're not talking about the 1% of those people here. We're talking about you right here and now listening to this or watching this. Don't come to us an argument. I love the one on big boned. You ever seen a fat skeleton? Fucking hell. Mate, my bone density is more than double the average human because I've been lifting weights since I was 13 years of age. It's literally off the charts. When off the charts, when I get a DEXA scan, you can't see where the marker is. My bones weigh 6.3 kilos, Ken. That's fuck all. It's more than double. I'm 6'4", 110 kilos.
You must be related to a dinosaur, mate, I think.
Sorry?
You must be a dinosaur.
Oh, mate.
I've just got big bones.
Big bones, fat skeleton. Fucking hell. Double the density. You know, like, that's it. My bones, unless under a lot of stress. I broke my wrist when I was really young, but, you know, my bones don't break. All the issues I had through sport was the ligaments and tendons couldn't keep up, mate. They weren't strong enough, funnily enough. And contact sport, obviously. You know, there's a lot of collision in that, but wasn't broken bones, just it was torn ligaments and whatnot. But, you know, that for a lot of you guys that are listening to this or watching this, it really is coming down to the fundamentals of looking after yourself and your own health. Again, regardless of what you position yourself with the current circumstances right now, just ask yourself the question, like, if you're having conviction over one point of view on something, are you taking that same conviction that you might have against other people's point of views and applying that to your own, which has led to the narrative you currently fucking hold? Because chances are you're not. How about you look inside of yourself and take ownership over yourself first and what you can do? And, you know, it's hard, Ken. I don't want this to be a down and out episode, but, you know, there's a source very close to me that basically their role is retrieving bodies, you know, suicides and mental health, mate. Like, the national number was just under 3,400 in 2019 of suicides across Australia. That's an average of, you know, 9 a day. When you look at the numbers, 365 days, nearly 3,400. This source that's very close to me, and I'm not going to disclose anywhere or where it is, but this region, this area is about 300,000 people. They're averaging that a day.
That's crazy.
Used to be 3 a week, that a day.
Yeah.
That's an area. They're averaging the national number a fucking day, mate, in this area. So when you take those averages of 300,000 and you divide that or push that into 26 million, roughly, give or take, conservatively, That puts us at 600 to 800 a day. So don't come to us talking about all these different measures of quick fix approaches and worrying about your health and well-being when that sort of shit is fucking skyrocketing. And people aren't even going back and looking at what they can invest in themselves first to take control over what they're doing, what they stimulate and expose themselves to with different environments using technology, different sources of influence, which don't have your best interests at heart. Again, this isn't a tinfoil hat wearing session. This is giving numbers, facts, and data on a lot of the health issues, which a lot of the times actually come down to the top 5 being your own health and well-being, which then carries through to your mental health and well-being. Because you tell me, Ken, out of those 7 odd million obese people, how many do you think are actually happy?
Yeah, that's exactly right, mate. Like it's amazing. And we all play an important part, like an important role in our lives. But I mean, the thing is, if you've got other problems, underlying major problems there, like you definitely need to seek help. And that's where the problem lies. And unfortunately, the direction of help is generally in the wrong direction when we've got professionals out there that have a legal responsibility. And unfortunately, the underlying issues, which go very, very unseen or unspoken about. And this is why I'm just absolutely mesmerized. And it's beyond my capability to be able to come to terms or to come to grips with people that are just pushing, and the media is just pushing this stuff down the throat, how we're in an epidemic from a COVID infection, when you just peel back a couple of pieces, a couple of layers, and really have a good hard look and think about what's staring you down the barrel, it's just phenomenal. Like I'm like, it just goes to show how intelligent people are sometimes when they cannot see, I suppose, how is it? I don't want to get this wrong, but see the trees between the forest or the forest between the trees, because it is just absolutely, with those numbers you've just said there with mental health and suicide rates, just there then, Al, like, that's enough to be concerning 100-fold more than what's going on with this pandemic. Yet they're shutting down the whole state. Like right now, they've shut down the whole bloody state. Like, how is that impossible? How many businesses are going to the wall right now? How many businesses are closing down that it's more likely they've been in business for 10, 20, 30 years, and yet they're never going to open again? Like, it's beyond my recognition. I just cannot believe what's going on. Like, and then people sit there and they'll go on there, oh, you don't understand. Let's stop. Like, get your head out of the sand. Like, mate, like, let me just share this with you, okay? This is really, really incredible, okay? And this kind of stems into where my direction in life is because of what we're doing now, Al, and where I'm, like, my legacy and what I'm all about, okay? The role, and listen, like I said, I'm not blaming anyone, and I'm not blaming doctors and whatever else, but this is where my problem is, as everyone has heard in conversations previous in our podcast and whatever else. When I talk about the doctors that I've dealt with and whatever else, not all of them, but I'm telling you right now, the majority of them. The role of a general practitioner, right? Let me just make this real clear and just give me a few minutes here, because this is so bloody important. And I'm not saying that like I'm against practitioners. I'm not against any allied health professional, but medical appointments would seem to provide the perfect avenue to talk about diet and nutrition and the immediate need. Like, the thing is, and lifestyle changes. This is what's important. Yeah. Yet this doesn't seem to happen in practice. And why is that? Why isn't it that this information isn't coming across from your general practitioner? And let me be really clear on this. Yeah, what your doctor hasn't told you about, let's just use, say, thyroid testing, where it's systemic, where triglycerides are high, and we talk about your T3, your T4, and all of a sudden metabolic syndrome, which causes, like it'll cause cardiovascular disease, which is the highest kind of killer in Australia at the moment, or pretty much in the world, that kills the most amount of people. Yeah. What do you need to know about thyroid testing, or what do you need to know about the ins and outs? Your general practitioner doesn't know that information. They do not know. You have to go and get an extensive, like, pathology testing for this, okay? But let me just kind of, do you struggle to lose weight? This is the question, yeah? Are you constipated? Do you often feel flat, fatigued, and depressed? Do you feel more sensitive to a cold than your friends? Or is it the opposite of all of the above? Are you feeling white, anxious, hyperactive? Are you struggling? Like, is hair falling out? Do you have insomnia, diarrhea? The thing is, your doctor doesn't know this unless you get an extensive blood work panel done, and they don't do that for you. So, but again, I'm not there to blame the doctor for that. But what you've got to realize is that the sad truth, unless you have been diagnosed with a thyroid disorder, yeah, unless you've paid for a specific comprehensive test, like an advanced thyroid check, then you're never going to know what the underlying issue is. You're going to go in, as I've done with a lot of my clients, they've gone in and seen their doctor, they're 30 plus 40% body fat, and they're saying your blood work's fine. Yet this underlying systemic problem here is not going to cause you a problem today, tomorrow. It might cause you a stroke because your cholesterol's too high or whatever else. But then they can kind of overcome that because they've now got the awesome machines and the paddles and everything else and whatnot, kind of just about everywhere that you can get to. But remember, this is not your doctor's fault. And this is why we come back into, like, you've got to take control. Yeah, like, the thing is, under the Medicare benefit scheme, there is only one test permitted, which is your thyroid stimulated hormone. So that's why they're not going to, unless you ask your doctor, I want to investigate this further because of, I need to understand, if I'm overweight, yet my blood work is showing that it's fine, it's not bloody fine. You need to realize that, hey, shit, so you're telling me, doc, that I'm 35% obese, I'm in the morbidly obese range, and you're telling me my blood work's fine. Hang on a minute. Now, this is where I step in. Now that doctor has a legal responsibility to say, you know what? It's not fine. You need to then be directed into having a more extensive thyroid test, which may cost you a few bucks to go and get it done, because your Medicare and your Medicare benefits do not cover you for this cost. So this is where it is a legal responsibility, I believe, that the doctor should turn you into that. Don't tell you your blood work's fine and you walk out and you go, the next person you have a conversation with and say, hey, listen, everything's fine. Now, this is where I want to get into the real nitty gritty for this. Okay. Disease. Yeah. Could disease have something to do with your diet? You tell me. From the information that we're talking about now, right now, could disease have something to do with your diet? Disease is man-made. Nutrition, what we eat, creates our health and wellness. That's what it's all about, okay? Ever look at a doctor's office, okay? And this is where I want to just read this little bit of information to everyone, just so that you get a really good understanding, okay? And this is really, really good stuff, and I hold this very, very close. Ever looked at a doctor's office and you walk in there and on the door, the sign reads general practice? Have you ever wondered about those two words, general practice? Okay, what does general practice mean? Generally practicing. I'm generally practicing until I get it right. Generally practicing. Generally practicing, talking in an informed way, generally practicing every day. Well, I generally practice when I prescribe pills. Yes, generally practicing to hopefully fix your illness. I walk into my general practice and everyone is patient. I start generally practicing. I wonder where the day went. I generally practice prescribing all day, 10 to 15 minute consults. Yeah. How can you go through a nutrition and lifestyle consult in 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah. Yes. Generally practicing, I always get the practicing right. Don't you try to use general remedies or I'll end up in a legal fight. When I'm generally practicing has ended, has all the practicing actually fixed diseases like we intended? Yes, they generally practice on us. As we say in this verse, as our health got better by generally practicing, has it got better or much worse? Let's just look at the two words, generally practicing. Generally meaning not specialized or limited to one class of things. General studies, general knowledge, and practice. Exercise, systemic training by multiple repetitions. Practice makes perfect. So by definition, we walk into an office with a sign on the door saying general practice, which means from Wikipedia, non-specialized person engaged in systemic method of multiple repetitions to practice, to get it right. In other words, generally practicing. Now, I don't blame doctors for not getting it right, but what I do hold very high is when someone is obese or in the morbidly obese range and they turn around and say, your blood works fine, all good, clean picture of health. Bullshit. This is where things need to take it to another level. And that's why right now, like I said, you cannot walk away and think that everything's okay. You have to literally right now start taking control. And that's why that verse and I forget where I got that. And I think I may have picked it up many, many years ago, 15 years ago. And again, and I don't blame doctors. I don't blame any allied health professional for anything. But really, at the end of the day, it is no more important right now than to take control of everything that we do.
Yeah, it always comes back to the same message, Ken. And I thank you for sharing that information. And the same message for all of you listening to this or watching this. Look, we've got different gears. We can go hot and heavy. We can go light. We can laugh. We can joke. Awesome. Great. But ultimately, this always comes down to being able to zoom out, zoom in and zoom out again. And when you're stuck in the chaos of life and the world and you're so zoomed in, you can't just see the big picture. It's very hard. It's too hard. And even these people, that's why Ken and I, it's not that we're blaming doctors or anyone in any specific field. I don't give a fuck how many university degrees you got as well. It's nothing to me on the surface level. What's the energy and what's the actions that you're taking? And a lot of the times, like we say, it comes back down to you. Take control of your own health, because people will go in and see these general practitioners as well, Ken. And there may be some great ones who, you know what, I'm not going to prescribe you this. Let's have a look at your diet and nutrition. And then all of a sudden, they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, the busy mum comes in with her kids. She's like, oh, I just need some pills. I just need something to help me sleep. I don't want to look at, don't worry about it. Yeah, I'll fix that up. Yeah, I know I should eat healthier. This is the hard part. This is what we're talking about, taking back control of your own health, because people hinge and depend and rely so heavily on the medical system, one being GPs, instead of looking at themselves. And it's because of, like I said, the fundamental universal truth of self-value. And when you don't value yourself or have a belief system high enough in you that you are not worthy, you lead to self-sabotaging. Even if you have a fucking gun medical team around you in your corner and they're trying to help you change your life and you just dismiss it quickly, looking for the quick fix, because that's how people are conditioned in the modern world, Ken. Who loses out? You. It's always you. It starts and ends with you. So whilst this has been a pretty solid episode, and I've really enjoyed it, Ken, with some pretty heavy stuff, to be fair, but also having a look at what the chronic effect is for probably 20 to 30 million Australians over the next 50 years, let's have a look at how we can bring the needle back to the middle and restore some level of stability again inside of our communities, inside of our family life, by starting with that internal work and taking actions from that to build and develop who we are first. You know, I feel blessed that I have people like you in my life, Ken, but ultimately, whilst you give me the pathway to a lot of answers. Ken isn't here just to tell me all the fucking answers either. Don't worry about that. He gives me the opportunity to explore, navigate, work, test, retest. Let's come together. Here's some more education on this, and this. All right, beauty. It always starts and ends with me, Ken, and my life. Like, all right, my sleep's shot to shit. Norris, Ken, mate. The sessions you've done for me are amazing. But you know what, mate? I only need one long session and 3 short ones because I need to have the psychology of getting runs on the board. I've trained for 23 years now, getting runs on the board to make sure that I'm actually completing training sessions. I'd rather do that 4 days a week than have 2 massive sessions a week, and I always miss one because shit hits the fan with my family life. What have I done? I've taken control and ownership again. Ken presents me with the wisdom, knowledge, support. And look, as we start to wrap this up, we are the answer. We don't have to be your answer, but we are the answer. Why? Because we leave no stone unturned. We're continually peppering with different questions, different layers, peeling the onion back as Ken speaks, looking at physical, chemical, and emotional health, having the right environment around you, support you, having the right coaches to ask you quality questions so you can have the breakthroughs, even in some of your breakdowns. All this sort of stuff lined up for a father, just like you entering or in the second half is, fuck, mate, that's liquid gold. Like, that shit is priceless, especially in today's world of what we have, and how it can steel you and forge you forward through the rest of this decade, the decade of dads, as I declared at the start of 2020, to go, hey, it's 2030 now. This is where we are. This is what we stand for. My children are now this, and this age, and this is who they are developing into, either as teenagers, as adults, and as members of the community, because of how I am holding myself as a member of the community. Because you know what? I didn't go it alone. I didn't take one person's word as gospel. Challenge us, question us. That's what we want. We love that. Fucking Absolutely. Give us what you've got. It's what it's about. But we will find the answer. If we don't, I never step out of my realm of excellence. I'm like, okay, you know what? I absolutely have no idea on that answer. Let me find out for you. And if it's not important to me or aligned with where we're going and what we're doing, I don't have that answer. And look, let me be clear here. Time and energy are 2 things we never get back. I actually don't really, that doesn't apply. That means nothing. Asking me a question of this area of my life actually is taking me away. You guys should listen to my last podcast about attention, the greatest chain of command. What you attend to or give your attention to or let steal your attention from immediately starts to channel your focus, which immediately sucks in time and energy, which you'll never get back, which starts to construct your reality. Where are you paying attention to? Where are you paying attention or letting people take your attention that becomes your level of focus, then constructs a reality that you actually don't agree with intuitively on the inside, but because of the conditioning and patterning, or you forgiving the ability to be a critical thinker or develop your own steel in the actions that you take, you've basically enslaved yourself into someone else's ideology of what you should be doing and who you should become. It always comes back to you, taking control of your own health. This has been it's been quite a surreal episode for me, to be fair, Ken, listening to a lot of things you've been sharing, and I've really enjoyed it. But is there anything else that you want to finish with, mate, as we wrap this up?
Mate. Yeah, what's really exciting about the future with what's going on, and to really have a think about it, what is really, really, truly exciting is, mate, is one thing, as people may or may not realize, or is that we're living longer. And this is really exciting. Like, from 2009 to 2011, we were living, the average male female was 81.9 years. Now we're living to 82.5 years. And that's absolutely incredible. Like, because now we're extending our life. But really, when you think about that, what is even more exciting for people like you and I, Al, and you can kind of digest this a little bit, is that the obesity rate is climbing exponentially. Like from 61.1 then to 66.4 in one decade, from 2008 to 2000, from 8 through to 2018. From that 10 years, it's climbed like an extra 5.6% in 10 years. So exactly what you're saying, we're in 220. So if it climbs another 15%, if people live longer, guess what? They're going to need you and I out. They're going to need us in their lives, because this is what it's all about. We're going to be standing at the top of the mountain. And when we're 70, really, I think our age may be 50, 60 in when we talk about our biological versus our chronological age. It's just really, really important that when we look at how we're living longer, what's the quality of that longevity? are we actually living on medication or actually living and breathing as healthy human beings? That's what it's about. This is why I'm so excited about what I do, is because a day in my life is unbelievable. With what I do, it's exciting. Like 95% of the time, day to day, week to week, month to month, I love everything that I do. It's just so important. And there's nothing really that's going on that's bad in my life other than the bullshit that's coming through every media channel. Outside of that, my life's brilliant. And that's why I want that to be infectious. I want it to be I want to be contagious to other people. And that's my legacy. I'm here to offer every bit of help with every bit of knowledge to anyone and everyone that I come in contact with. And that's what my life's all about. And that's what it's always been about. And I'm just excited as we grow older. I'm just so excited about it.
Yeah, and we love your leadership, Ken, and we really appreciate having you on the team. And I hope you guys really enjoy and appreciate Ken and the value he brings with all of our episodes. And you've enjoyed this episode as well. You know, it's been a great one, Ken. And just to put to bed some of the arguments, against some of the numbers Ken's talking about with obesity, by cross-referencing that to us living longer, mate, it could be 10 more years' time and the average age could be 85. But as Ken once said in our very first episode that we did a while ago now, mate, when we brought you on as a guest before you joined the team, it's not the years in your life, it's the life in your years. Mate, that rings true every single day for me, Ken, because I don't care what argument you have against. It's actually quite baffling, really, that we're getting sicker as a nation, but we're actually living longer. For someone to have that as an argument to go, no, everything's all right, we're going all right, because it's like, yeah, but like I always say, how much time do you think you have? But how much quality do you think you've had? Mate, I could die tomorrow, not that I'd ever wish it, Ken, and I'd be a blessed man for the energetic expression that I've put into the world and how much I just push and push and push in the right way to live my best life that I can and continually grow, way more than someone who lives to be 93 and they've had a shit life and done fuck all and they're filled with regrets. So just something for people to really think about as well.
I'm not scared. It's interesting when we talk about that, or when you mention that I'm not scared of death, mate, by no means. I want to be here for my children, but I'm not scared of dying. That's a big thing, because I know what I do day to day, week to week, month to month. I know what I do is I'm doing everything in my power to be the healthiest person I can be, and to be the best person I can be around the people that I love and care about the most. And that's why I'm not afraid of death. Yeah, that's the key in life. If you are afraid of death, then look at what you're doing with your own life. You have to ask yourself that question. Yeah, don't worry about whatever else is doing and whatever else is going on around you. And I get it. It's very hard to kind of, when people are emotional, and you've got to really, really think about it. And that's why I'm not scared of death, but the only thing that concerns me is what's being portrayed out there in my children's kind of, I suppose their aura and what's kind of influencing them. And that's what's really important, because what they teach at school and what everyone else and the people they come in contact with, it's really, really difficult. And that's why we sit down at the kitchen table every night and see how their health and their wellness and everything else is going. We spend that family self and service, exactly what we preach in our DM and everything else that we do. Definitely. It is so incredible.
And that's gonna steel your children for life and all the challenges that they have, mate, because of your leadership and the stage that you set. Because there are always going to be environments that we don't control, that they're exposed to, but you've built their environment internally to be able to handle that. But no, great episode, Ken. I really enjoyed this, mate. And for those of you who may be chronically afraid of death, you should probably be more afraid of the life you're currently living, because it's not leading down a great path if that's what you're focusing on for your reality. Because we we all have the same outcome, Ken. We're all going to the same place, mate. The question is how and what have you done? So when we are gone, how are we living through our mannerisms, our belief systems, our values through our children, our children's children, and so on and so forth? Because that is truly eternal life. It's not just the physical, it's the energetic exchange that we pass through, which is such a gift, man. Like that's what makes life worth living. Take care, guys. I hope you enjoyed this and got a lot of value. I really did. And this is what I love most about doing these with you, Ken, and even when I do these individually for you guys, because it actually recenters me and realigns me. We all need it. No one's perfect. It's that realignment that brings us back into focusing on what the most important thing is and then expressing and living life through that channel. Thanks for joining us, Ken. Loved it, mate.
Thanks, mate. Have a great day, guys.
Cheers.